Hey everyone, and welcome. We are Next Level Business Advisors, and this is Business Stories of Success. If you want to break through and achieve your own business success by learning from other successful business owners, you're in the right channel. For more of our content, make sure you click subscribe and don't forget the bell icon so you're the first to be notified when new videos are added. Enjoy today's video.
Live. Hello, hello, hello. You're with Marc Adams at Next Level Business Advisors. And today I'm joined by Tarek, and he is in Canada. How you doing up there?
I'm doing good, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I cannot complain. And I'm kind of keeping things a little secret. I'm not telling you where you're disclosed. I haven't said your business name yet. So I want you to just share with us a little bit about you. Who are you? And tell us about your business.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for having me. I do appreciate that. So I want to go a little back and then basically move forward to what I'm doing today, right? So
I love it.
I started my first business in 2006. I started a staffing business, and I was, 3 years out of school. I really didn't have any idea of running a business or anything like that, but I just wanted to get started and see where it goes. And 9 years later, we had 9 employees, and the business was doing really well. And at that point, I decided to basically sell the business and move on to doing other things. So at that point, basically, I started doing consulting, which I do today. But more importantly, 2 years ago, during the pandemic, started the business, which is the moving and storage business. It's called Doublespace. And basically what we do short-term storage and we do moving. So moving is going from point A to point B. In some cases, because we're based in Ontario, we basically serve our entire province at the moment.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, in your little bio, you said some amazing things, and I want to just dive into it. We chatted beforehand, so I know that you had this prior business, and you got it from the ground up to multiple employees, and you actually had a successful exit, and then you sold it. Why did you sell it?
There comes a point, I guess, for any entrepreneur, is that you want to do something a little different. Perhaps you've done enough, you've done more than what you originally expected, how well for things to pan out. You did all of that, and then what do you do next? So for me, the way I saw it is that the company taking over, perhaps they can add higher value. They had more access to better resources, or they had clients that they can serve, something which I was not able to do. So at that point, it was a win-win situation for both, because I wanted an exit, because once you run your business, it's a 24/7 kind of thing. There's no off switch, So the thing is that you run it and then you make it successful, you develop your talent, you develop your team, but at one point you want to get out. So that's what I did. I took that opportunity, and I basically wanted to, travel, see some of the things and do some of the things my friends were doing. And the thing is that I did that for a bit, but then, what happens is that once you're an entrepreneur, you're always that, and you always have to find your next thing. What do you do next, right? So that's basically what happened, and that's why, that's the whole part of my exit, and then starting something else.
Nice. Now, I appreciate that. And as we get into the conversation, I probably want to circle back to that if you don't mind, because I remember we were chatting. When we were chatting, you talked about the no off switch and how it affected you in that first business, and how when you fashioned Doublespace, you changed it a little bit, right? And to me, it all ties into success. But before we get all into those details, I want to make sure we have a couple of our bookkeeping process correct.
Sure.
If someone wants to reach you and your company, how do we do it?
Doublespace.ca. That is the website for our moving business. And you can just put Tarek Hossain on LinkedIn or Google, and I'm going to pop up. So those are the best ways to get in touch with me.
Okay, cool. So now if you're watching this, Tarek has this cool shirt. He didn't send me one,
Nah,
but
it's on the way.
okay. So you see the spacing for the spelling for double space, right? DOUBLESPACE.ca, you said?
Yeah, .ca, yes.
And CA is for Canada, I guess. Is that the
Yeah,
extension?
yep. Uh-huh.
Okay, very cool. Cool. So that's how we find you. What role do you play in your business?
So I started the business with my business partner, and we have kind of, distributed our responsibilities, because division of labor is key when you have partners in a business.
Absolutely.
Right. So one of the things that I do mainly is client relations, marketing, accounting, anything related to the office management stuff. So the business management, which can be done not on location, I take care of all of that. And what my partner does is that he manages the team, our trucks, and the operations.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. And, I asked that question, especially when it comes to partnerships, because and you put it so beautifully. If you're going to start a partnership, you can't be clones of each other, or else it's really not going to work.
No,
so you have a nice division of labor. I like the way you put that. And how long has Doublespace been in business?
Since May of 2020. So it's been a couple of years.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you a wild question. May of 2020, weren't we in COVID?
Yes, we were.
What gave you the gumption to start a business in COVID time?
Right. So this is what happened. When COVID hit, my partner is in the construction business. So some of his construction work fell through at that time. And at the same time, we found that, we wanted to do something a little different and start something different, because none of us had any prior experience in the logistics space. But we had all moved. Like, I have moved a few times, he moved a few times. We have used movers. And we had access to real estate agents. So essentially, we found that there was a little bit of a gap in the market where real estate agents were not being served properly. So this is where we sort of built our value proposition. So essentially what we did was that we identified the thing which is like a pain point for real estate agents when they try to sell a home, because they have to stage the property. So what's going to happen to the furniture, the existing furniture of homeowners? They need to be stored. And because Toronto, the way it is, like, the market is really quick. You can sell a house within a couple of days. Everything is done maybe within a week at times, right? So where are they gonna put the furniture for a week, or even a couple of weeks for that matter, right? So essentially that's where we came in, and our solution was basically laser focused on real estate agents. That's how we basically wanted to run our business. So what we do now is that we work with real estate agents. We go in, we pick up the furniture, we store it, and then we return it. Either we return it back to the original home. So that means that we actually get to do the move later on because the owners are moving now.
Right.
That's one way we, do that. The other thing which we do is essentially, sometimes owners, they want their stuff to be moved to their new home. Right. So that's something which we do as well, right? So essentially, that's the gap that we found. The other thing which is very prevalent in Toronto, unfortunately, and this may be true for other larger cities as well, is that there are unfortunately some scams, moving scams. So these moving scams, the way they work is that the price isn't transparent. So what happens is that they will quote you a very low price to get your business. So they will come in, the morning of the move, and they will rush you to sign a contract. And when you have like a 3-4 page contract thrown in your
You
face,
just sign where they say sign.
exactly, you sign and you just, you want them to start loading your stuff, right? Because you may have elevators booked, you may get the key at a certain time, there's so many, and
Right.
people are usually stressed out on the day of the move. So what they do is they kind of hold your stuff hostage
Right.
unless you are prepared to pay hundreds, if not thousands, over asking initial
Wow. Wow.
price, right? So this happens, unfortunately. I wouldn't say regularly, but this really happens in Toronto and quite a bit. So what we wanted to do is that we wanted to do a little more professionally. We wanted to offer certain things which sort of ease the customers and their concerns. So one of the things we did is that we provide pricing which is inclusive of everything.
Nice.
So we're not going to charge you extra for stairs or gas or mileage or any of those things. Whatever price we give you, that is it. If it's,
Nice.
let's say $100 an hour, it's $100 an hour. So that's one thing. The other thing which we do is that when we actually send a confirmation email, we send our contract beforehand. If someone were to book us for July 31st now, which is more than a month away, they will have the contract right now so that they can look at the contract, agree
Review
to the
it,
contract.
take their time. Right.
Yeah, way
Not feel
before.
pressure.
So
Gotcha.
there's no pressure. It's fully transparent. And the third thing which we do, and we have done this successfully, and I'm actually very proud of this, is that we have full-time people working with us. So majority of the smaller companies, because obviously we're not a very large company, but the thing is that majority of the smaller companies, they rely on casual employees. They rely on casual part-timers, anyone they can get, because their jobs are inconsistent. So whoever they can get on that particular day is your mover for the day. But for us, we have built up a team, and like 2 years later, some clients who are moving now again, or they've referred someone, they're surprised to see that the same guy has shown up to do the move, or the same guys have shown up to do the move. So the thing is that we have done that. Yes, it was a bit of a risk, because when you take on people on full-time, on your payroll and things like that,
yes, carrying that overhead.
It's kind of risky at times. But the thing is that we tried to do that because we wanted to maintain a certain level of quality. So, and we have ongoing training for the guys every couple of weeks or months, depending on what we're doing and things like that. And yeah, so these are some of the things that we have done.
Nice. You have really figured this game of moving out, which is very cool. And what I like about what you've done, and it's a real lesson for a lot of business owners, is that you found a niche, right? And your niche is who you choose to market to. Right. And they say the expression we use is riches in niches. So finding a niche can really make a big difference, right? And it's going to help you to grow. So that's really nice to see. And in only 2 years, it sounds like you've got something that's really flourishing.
Right? Yeah, we became profitable in our first year. So yeah, and because as a small business owner, my focus is always on profitability and making sure that we did a lot of things in-house when we started. Like, for example, if you look at our website, the pictures, they were basically taken by me. And we actually have my partner and one of our guys acting as movers during the shoot. And the thing is that, there are a lot of talented people on Upwork. We use their talent to build our website, to do our logo, to do our explainer video. And it was at least 70 to 80% cheaper than if we had done it elsewhere.
Okay. So you were saying, sorry.
Yeah, as I was saying that there are a lot of alternative ways of doing things done, especially when you get started, because at the end of the day, your funds are limited and you're not working with investors. So the best thing to do is obviously to do things which are of good quality, but at the same time, you're not paying an arm and a leg to get things done.
And I like that. A lot of times when we start our businesses, sometimes we start with grand ideas and we spend grand money before we make money. And
Right.
boy, it's hard to dig out of that red. So it's a smart way to do, build as you go. If you don't have a $100,000 website, it doesn't mean you won't get business, right?
Right.
And you build as you go. So it's a smart approach. And I imagine that you got a lot of these smart approaches because you had built a business prior.
Yeah, a lot of it came from my background back in 2006 when technology wasn't what it is today. And, things they were not as efficient as they are today. So a lot of things we had to do back in 2006 were very manual. A lot of things we had to do, things we take as granted today, things which are automated, they're not, right? Today, you can get on an app and order your coffee. So at that time, if I wanted to buy the office coffee, someone would physically have to go and get it.
That's right.
Right? That's like almost unimaginable these days. It's like, here's your phone, just order your food, right? So
everything.
Exactly. So, a lot of the things that I learned initially also was kind of reflective of what my dad once told me. He ran a business for many years, and what he said was that you can always stay afloat as long as you control your costs. So that was his ideology. I mean, he started in the 70s and all that. So at that time, cost was, one of the things that he tried to always control. So I think what it is that you have to be strategic in terms of the dollars that you spend. And each dollar has to have some meaningful outcome, if you ask me. So as a small business owner, like I'm not talking about startups. I'm not talking about startups because the reason is that their model is totally different. They're more focused on growth and numbers. They're not necessarily looking for profitability. But as small business owners, we have to watch every dollar that we spend. And you have to sort of question yourself, like the $5 that I'm spending right now, how is it going to add value in the long run? And what is my return on that?
I like it. You see my eyes darting down. I'm literally writing notes. When I hear a gem, I like to just pause for a moment because people really need to understand what was just said. And what you just said was powerful. Actually, Tarek's dad, we have to give a shout out to Papa, right? You can always stay afloat. And I wrote it right down. You can always stay afloat if you control your costs.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, your quote, each dollar has to have a meaningful outcome. If a business owner can figure that part out, they can go a long way. So thank you for that, sharing that gem. That's what we do this for, so that people can extract gems and say, man, I was wondering why I was struggling, and it could be as simple as $5. We can go to broke $5 at a time pretty quickly if we're not having that meaningful outcome. So awesome piece of advice. Awesome piece of advice. And you've been able to do that with not just one, but two businesses by controlling costs. So I really appreciate that you shared with us. I'm going to pivot a little bit.
Sure.
Because our podcast is entitled Business Stories of Success. And we're looking at a success story. One, you built a business, had a successful exit. Two, you started from ground zero, and 2 years later, you're flourishing, profitable in the first year. But here's the question. How do you define success? What's your definition?
This is an excellent question. And I think the most important thing, which I would say from my perspective, is that you have to set your own benchmarks for success. There isn't one universal one. because as a new entrepreneur, let's say, it could be someone's objective to basically break even and learn lessons on the way. Maybe they're not profitable in their first year, but they have learned a lot of lessons which will help them thrive in the next 5 years, let's say. That is a success. Now, success, as I said, you cannot be defined by a particular benchmark. You got to set your own. So for me, I always look at a situation or a business and see what could be the best outcome out of this.
I like that.
So this is honestly, and I will be completely transparent when I say this, is when we started the moving business, I was not really expecting it to be profitable, at least not in the first year, because we had no prior experience in the logistics space. So most of the stuff we learned, honestly, came from the University of YouTube. That's where we learned, from watching these other movers, like what equipment they were using, right? And just learning from them and watching hours of videos gave me an idea of the equipment we will need to buy, the flat dollies and all that stuff. And we made our share of mistakes because, because, like a very simple example, the flat dollies need to have this little string thing which you can actually pull. But the ones we bought initially didn't have it. So it's one of those things. We went to the store, we saw the flat dolly, and I thought, okay, let's buy this because this is what we saw. But when we actually started working on it, that's when we realized, oh wait, this is not very efficient. So that's a lesson that we learned. But then again, we were able to sell the flat dollies for about $5 less than we bought it. So it wasn't like a big loss.
You mitigated that pain.
Mitigated that, right? So one of the things that we did initially, and I think anyone who starts out a logistics business, they need to make their first decision is whether to rent, lease, or buy their vehicle, because that is your biggest investment. So for anyone listening, if your audience is in that space or thinking about it, renting is if you are going to do this on a very part-time basis. You can score some jobs, rent your truck, the margins are very low, but then again, you don't have any ongoing costs. Leasing is not very efficient for us, we found, so we decided to finance our vehicles. Because we wanted to basically own them outright one day or sell them off as we saw fit. So what happened, because of the pandemic, there was a huge shortage in especially the 16-feet trucks. And those are the trucks that you need to do any kind of, if you want to start off a moving business, that's the best one to get initially. You'll be doing 2 bedrooms, for example, you can easily do that in a 16 feet. So the thing is that because there was a huge shortage, the next year we got offered more money for a vehicle than we originally paid for it. Or at least the price. We didn't actually pay for it, right? We pay on a monthly basis. So imagine being offered $7,000 where you can actually profit from a used vehicle. So this is one of the success factors, I would say, is how I have designed it, is that even if my business didn't do well, I can still sell off my vehicle next year and still get out with a profit or break even.
Nice. So that's managing your assets wisely.
Exactly. And this same theory I use for every aspect of the business. Can I actually get something back in return? For example, the website that I built, perhaps I can sell this website at a certain point for someone who needs it. I can package it with the logo, the video, and everything and sell it outright if this business is not working for me. So this is how I measure my success, is that can I actually run something profitably? And if not, can I get out, but still make some money, right? So
I like that.
Yeah, so what you lose is your time, but what you gain is experience. So
Okay.
ultimately, that's the balance, right? You have to give something to get something else. So, but at least you're whole in terms of not losing your money. If you
I like
lose
that.
your money and your time and gain experience,
Woo.
that's not worth gaining. Trust me. I
Yeah.
have seen many people fail because they have gone all in without realizing what they were doing. So I think those are the success factors for me.
I like
And
that.
this actually leads me to something else. I know you haven't asked me, but if you will, I may share this with you, is that
Sure.
understand what business you're in. I think this is very, very critical because a lot of people don't know what kind of business they're actually running in terms of making money, right? Because, see, let's say I was talking to somebody and he started this company, which is basically a marketplace online. So
Okay.
if it is a marketplace online, essentially what it is that he's in the tech business. Now, that marketplace, you can basically, say buy or sell or trade anything. It could be your household items. It could be whatever it may be. So let's say this person wants to list, I don't know, motorcycles on there, let's say. That person is not in the motorcycle industry, although the product is
Correct.
motorcycle, but the way he or they are making money is by having customers on there, right? So it's a marketplace. So his main focus should be customer acquisition. So
Okay.
a
I
lot
like
of
that.
people get these things confused initially because they don't know what the focus is on. So they hire the wrong kinds of people. So
Mhm.
let's say someone has a lot of experience in the bike industry. That person coming into this business will not be doing very well,
Right. Right.
right?
So let's crystallize that for a moment, if you don't mind. I
Mm-hmm,
want to make sure that we have that clear.
mm-hmm.
In order to be successful in your business, whatever benchmarks you define or decide is this is what success is, you have to first be clear on what your business is. And
Yep.
sometimes it can be ambiguous to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
The good example, am I an online marketplace or do I sell a specific product, right? So it can
Right.
be ambiguous. Amazon is probably the greatest example of all. They are
Mm-hmm.
clear on what they do,
Mm-hmm.
right? They don't sell books. They used
Mm-hmm.
to,
No.
but it seems like Bezos knew from the start. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to start with books, but I'm not a book salesman. I'm not going to start going after vintage copies of, Little House on the Prairie, Laura Ingalls Wilder series. I
Mm-hmm.
am here as a marketplace,
Yep.
and that clarity
Mm-hmm.
helps them to become successful. Do we have that right?
Absolutely. Another great example is Google. Google is not necessarily a tech company. They're an advertising and marketing firm. That's basically what it is. That's how they make money. They're not making money every time you do a search on Google. They make money because you do a search on Google and they get to charge someone money for ads to be displayed to you. So they're
Isn't
basically
it
an
powerful?
advertising business, right?
Isn't it powerful? And I
Yeah.
don't know a lot about the iteration or the history of the and that's the origin of Google. If they started out, I mean, they were always a search engine, but if they knew from the beginning
Mm-hmm.
that we're going to monetize this
Mm-hmm.
by advertising, but
Mm-hmm.
they figured it out really, really fast.
Yep.
So we know Google as a the best search engine probably
In the
on
world.
the planet,
Yep.
but they don't make a dime from just doing the searches, right? The
Nope.
dimes are made by telling vendors,
Mm-hmm.
hey, if you want to be found on the greatest search engine in the world,
Mm-hmm.
you might have to give us a few coins.
Yep.
And so it
Yep.
works out
Mm-hmm.
brilliantly. So that's nice. Crystallizing that point for business owners, understand clearly
Mm-hmm.
what your business is. And
Yeah.
if you can do that, you can find success. I love that. I'm going
Yep.
to ask another question.
Sure.
Um, and it ties into this, I think. What do you
Mm-hmm.
think is the single most important quality needed to be a successful business owner?
Persistence.
Okay. I like that. Why do you say persistence?
Yeah, that's one word I will say. Basically, you see, entrepreneurship is not for the weak-minded. It is not. Doesn't matter what business you're in. You run a candy shop, whatever, run a workshop for vehicles and moving business, cleaning, whatever your business is. It is not for the weak-minded. You may have one bad quarter, you're losing money like anything, but if you have a plan on, especially let's say it's a seasonal business, like a moving business like ours, during the winter we are barely breaking even because our business is basically from May till September and maybe a little bit of October. That's basically our window.
That's the hot season.
Yeah, that's the hot season, right? So the thing is that this is where we make our money. So from October till February, if we're on the red and we're thinking, oh my God, this is going to be a disaster, then we've already lost the plot, because the thing is that we have to be ready when spring hits, and we got to understand that the business is going to be winding down as fall arrives. So the thing is that you can't be weak-minded and you have to be persistent. So the other thing is that I think people are afraid to fail, especially in our culture these days, where you can basically show off your success on social media. Absolutely. Wherever it may be. The thing is that we start comparing ourselves as young entrepreneurs to what we see on social media, and most of it is fake, in my opinion.
Who are you telling? Who are you telling?
I mean, if you're
that's the amazing thing with social media and even websites, you can look like you're the captain of enterprise, and be working out of a 4x4 bedroom.
Yeah, 100%, right? If you're flexing with fancy cars, jewelry, whatever, right? The thing is that real entrepreneurs are not that, because they're hard at work. They don't have time to arrange elaborate photo shoots and go off on 10 different vacations during the year. You don't have time for that. I mean, a real entrepreneur is never that, right? So the thing is that in my opinion, I think young entrepreneurs especially, is that don't be afraid to fail. You may learn a very valuable lesson, but as I said, that one of the things you should understand is that if you create something of value, then you may not make a profit, but at least you're not going to make a huge loss, because perhaps if you have created something of value, you can sell that off and get out.
I like it.
Yeah.
And you saw my eyes avert again. I had to pause once again. You used another phrase that I want to make sure that people who are listening got. Don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah. Don't be afraid. So the thing is that you don't need to publicize your wins or your losses in a major way. Just keep it to yourself. Let the work do the talking, because you know what? Eventually people will understand what you have done, what you have created, and all those kind of things, right? So
that's right.
This is one of the things I would say, and this is where persistent comes in. If you're not persistent, you're not going to start your next business, because again, you're going to think back and say, oh my God, it was such a disaster. Everyone thinks I'm a failure. I can't do this, right? So the thing is that if you're persistent, you will start your next business and your next business. And that's what entrepreneurship is, because I know I may have 2 successful businesses, but I've got a string of failures because I started a lot of things on the side which never worked out. So, never be afraid.
I love it. I love it. And that's so true. I'm glad you mentioned that, because all we heard was success for Tarek. This guy started a business. They had a beautiful exit. He started another one. But you just said something. You actually learned from your own mistakes in the past, which allowed you to create the success that you had. Not being afraid to fail and
Right.
persistently pursuing it.
Mhm.
I just came from a training seminar for business advisors, and they
Mhm.
used a phrase that is powerful: RIA, relentless, intentional activity, or
Mhm.
relentless, intentional action,
Mhm.
staying relentlessly focused. If you're a new business owner, it might simply be relentless, intentional action to start a business and
Mhm.
then build it from there. I love that. I'm going to
Mhm.
ask you one final question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Um, you've been in business for a long time. So if you could go to right before you started your business, whichever one you choose, what
Mhm.
advice would you give yourself?
Um, I think the first bit of advice I would say would be back in 2006. And I would say that when an opportunity comes knocking, understand that this is an opportunity. Just identify the opportunity and go for it. One thing we learned, I went to school at University of Toronto, and one of the things we learned over the course of 4 years was that never be afraid to take on a new challenge. That was kind of the theme from the 4 years of school. That's my takeaway. So
I like it.
one of the things I would say is that initially when I had started, I may have said no to few opportunities because I was afraid to fail, because I had only started. I didn't want a bad rep, right? So I didn't want to get this reputation that I can't deliver. But one thing I have learned over the years is never say no. You don't know something,
Hmm.
you can figure it out. Like, I was figuring things out in the pre-YouTube era. These days, you need about an hour or two to figure anything out. Everything is online, right? So there's no way that you won't know something. So it's like if someone comes to you and tells you that, hey, listen, do you know this? Maybe you've never heard of it, but it is within your wheelhouse. So you say, yeah, of course, I can get this done for you. And then figure out how you're going to get it done. So don't say no. And again, if that plays in the back of your head that, you know what, I'm not afraid to fail, I'm going to get this done. So never prepare for failure, always prepare to succeed. But at the same time, don't be scared.
Okay, that's the last one you're giving me. I'm going to write that one down. Never
Awesome, man.
prepare for failure. Always prepare to succeed. That is
Yes.
amazing. You've given us so many gems this afternoon, depending on what time you're listening to this morning, this evening. Um, I really appreciate it. I enjoy your take on success. I love the fact that you talked about the benchmarks, and I enjoy the gems that you shared with us. Thank you so much, Tarek, for this.
Thank you, Marc, for having me. This was a great opportunity. Thank you.
Awesome. And we look forward to continuing to see your journey to success.
Thank you, sir.